inspire that much fear in the opponent, at least in the early 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I think it's something they're more comfortable with because in the past I've seen when they pick IO plus any carry, they would go for initiating offlane, and they would typically go for Sand King or Earthshaker. So you initiate and relocate comes in, there's this sort of threat in the map that Yoki brings to the table with those two heroes.
Yeah, I mean, Sand King, as we see in the team sheet, of course, kind of a niche pick for Team Empire. We did see it banned in the very last ban last game by Vici Gaming. Maybe it slips through this time. Maybe that's the key that Empire needs to climb back in. But let's phrase that in a different way then. When you're playing against Vici Gaming and they pick Rubik, does that also just extend the value of that Rubik first pick because now it affects, oh, shoot, do we want to pick these heroes because that's also an advantage that Rubik can have?
You definitely need to respect it more than against other teams because FY is just... I personally think I can think of only 2 Rubik players in the world that are just like a tier above everyone else, and it's FY and it's Kuroki. I just feel like they're better at their positioning, they're really good at reacting and stealing the spells at the right time. So I would say against those 2 teams, if you see it picked by Secret or by Vici Gaming, you might consider, okay, should we maybe avoid a hero like Shaker? I think Fissure was stolen that game once or twice. I'm not 100% sure if I did see that, but if I didn't see that, then then the Shaker was fine, right?
Right.
The spells that Rubik stole were not a problem for the Shaker, but it's something you can have in the back of your mind. But at the same time, if you let yourself get intimidated too much by the Rubik pick, then all of a sudden there's a lot of heroes you can't pick because, oh, well, I have a good spell, and this guy's really good, so he's going to steal that spell. Oh, now I can't pick Enigma because they're definitely going to steal Black Hole every time I cast it, and he will use it better than me because he's FY. Then you've already lost in the draft, right? If you think that highly of your opponent, respect is great, but you need to have confidence in your own ability.
All right, very fair point. I think that's a good way to put it. We just saw Empire, kind of rallying around, saying, all right, what do we want to do? Preparing for that draft in Game 2, of course, giving the teams a little bit of time so they have things to adjust. Of course, they want to review a little bit of Game 1 at least before they jump into Game 2. From Vici now, do we think then are we going to see something different? Or, hey, it worked, this is what we do, why not go with the Rubik and then wait for Empire to pick and react? What's Vici's strategy here going into Game 2?
I think they capitalized on Wisp's positioning very, very well that game, and just do the same thing, exploit the weaknesses and play to their strengths. They actually ran around as 5 very, very well, and of course when you have a Dragon Knight, you kind of want to do that, but I feel like Empire didn't really play too much as a team. Like they're... ideally you want like the 3 heroes to initiate on someone you'd relocate in, but that only happened like a first couple of times, and then after that they're just like waiting for something to happen. And I think that Vici, they were so much more proactive about using their smokes and just getting 1 or 2 pickoffs, transitioning into a tower, and then extending their lead, and then getting the items that they needed to overcome Empire. And it was just very systematic. Whereas, that's not used to I'm not used to the Empire that's not that explosive.
All right, Cinder, question for you. Are you still confident that staying away from my predictions is the right way to go?
What was your prediction?
Well, I said 2-0, and whichever team wins first, I think will go on, obviously.
I'm actually going to lean towards you right now because...
Didn't you do that from
boy?
Did you say 2-0 as well?
I said 2-0.
I said 1-1.
You said 1-1?
Yeah, but I saw which Vici Gaming showed up today, so... I mean, it's not fair for me to change, but...
No, it's all right.
Yeah, so you can't.
No, only one person can change, and Winter Jump dies. So.
No! This is not how games work.
Yeah, but it's good to see when FI is drafting, they are bringing back the old glimpse, their old strats and a glimpse of their old self. That's, for me, it's really important to be able to see that in the first few games. So I think they'll be able to take the series 2-0 if they are just going to pick their stronger heroes and just do what they're good at.
Yeah, I mean, prediction jokes aside, what do you think? I mean, we've been talking about, again, Vici Gaming. It kind of depends on where they are in their state. Are they returning to their prime a little bit, or are they still in a little bit of a slump and we're not sure where they are? How do you feel, Cinder?
Well, that game 1 was definitely some of Vici's good play. I don't think it was the full throttle Vici Gaming, but it was up there. It was better than what we saw a month ago, that's for sure. So they've definitely improved going in. I mean, it's a very small sample size. Maybe they just had a great game. Maybe it was a fluke, but judging from what we've seen, that was very impressive. So I'm gonna stick by my 1-1, but the most likely outcome at this point is probably 2-0. But I don't think it's not a major advantage for Vici Gaming. Maybe like 60-40 going into the second game. Where I said 50-50 going in, so giving Vici a little bit more of more credit here.
Okay, fair enough. And it does sound like we have a quick little update. CDEC taking a game off MVP, Hot 6, and it looks like we have the final moments of that game here coming up.
Game.
Wow, I mean, look at the kill score too, 26-48. And it looks like this one was over 70 minutes also.
And Winter and I looked at a net worth, and it's actually deceptive. The kill score does not really tell a story of how close this game is.
Yeah, and in one team fight, Bloodseeker did 5,000 damage towards the enemy heroes. Like 4,800 damage. That was insane.
I mean, overall, so far in TF5, we've had some long games, coming down to one or two last team fights.
Is this the ending fight? Because this really doesn't look like.
Yeah, it doesn't look. I mean, yeah, it would be a little bit odd if that were the case, but I guess we're about to find out. It does seem. I do believe it drags on for a little bit here. We didn't get to catch it live.
Oh my god, everyone's stuck in the cogs.
Oh, now I see why.
Yes.
All right, it's the end fight.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, hey, getting a little greedy. I mean, MVP Hot 6 was probably thinking the same thing, right? Like, hey, we can end this right here. We can push back. Chased a little bit too far, got greedy, and there we go. CDEC taking that fight. And there's the GG call from MVP. So, CDEC is up in that game. And as we wrap that one up, we are going to go right into Game 2 between Vici Gaming and Team Empire. So as you can see, the draft has already started, and Quap being picked up by Vici Gaming. So not going to see anything too crazy with the Rubik just yet. And the bans pre-serve for the Lash, Tusk, Gyro, and Bounty Hunter this time, though, being put back into the banning phase. So priority shifting a little bit between the two teams.
I think that when Empire pick Wisp and Tiny, they actually rely on it a little bit too much and go back to the older playstyle. We've seen stacking and farming pretty prevalent throughout this tournament, but it's not as strong as it was before, with kills, kill gold being buffed and creep gold just being nerfed overall. And I think they just relied on Tiny being Superman a little bit too much without actually trying to kill and limit the opponent's farm. So, I don't think that Empire should turn to it for game number 2, although the option is still available.
Maybe you open with the IO and decide later what you want to pair with.
Like Wisp Bristle, I think would have been, because they really lacked that frontliner that could actually just stand up to a DK stun. And anyone that got stunned was very likely to die, or they had to blow multiple cooldowns or ultimates to escape it.
All right, Spirit Breaker. Haven't seen SB too much today on our stream. I don't know if we've seen it in our other games. I do believe we have a couple times, but.
Oh, Dazzle
is
the hero of the day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely, at the very least, if you were on the losing team, Dazzle single-handedly extended the fight quite a few times, just like we saw Wyvern do with the same thing with the Embrace. So, Dazzle is going to be a little bit annoying for Vici Gaming, but that means there's also quite a few other heroes left, right, that have been in high contention throughout.
They left the Shadow Fiend as
Right.
Radiant, so that's kind of unusual. There's still Rubik if Vici want to go. Like Rubik Quap is pretty standard for them if they want to go back towards that direction. But like you mentioned, they're going to go for the Wyvern.
All right, Dazzle and Wyvern.
Yeah, both the defensive supports being snagged up by both the teams.
So Wyvern has, of course, the interesting counterplay to Spirit Breaker of being able to curse while he's charging in. It's pretty much, I don't know the cast point of Winter's Curse. It seems like it's point very low. Second.
There's a slight delay though. He needs to turn his head.
Yeah, basically, that's all. So there's a play there. Of course, Spirit Breaker in the early stages generally looks to gank the lanes very early on with charge, and since all of his damage output is physical, apart from, I believe, the Greater Bash is magic damage type, right? But the rest is physical. Of course, he hits very hard, so Cold Embrace can definitely save you from those early ganks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's kind of an open-ended Wyvern pick. I don't feel like it's a great pick just yet, but if nothing else, it protects them from what's to come for Empire.
Yeah, we've seen it vulnerable to like Lina picks, Shadow Fiend picks also. I mean, there are a lot of heroes. As long as you don't commit like Bristle plus TA plus PA or something like that, then you're not going to have too many issues dealing with.
They actually banned the Wisp.
Yeah,
Even with the Wyvern for themselves. That's a little surprising.
Perhaps just giving a little bit of a nod to Empire to some extent, but as you were mentioning, I mean, Ben, you were saying Empire may be relying too much on that. So that could go either way, but the Broodmother once again being panned out by Empire. Keeping note of that one, they don't want to be the ones to make that mistake.
Yeah, that's also another team I think you should always ban Brood second phase, unless you have, two heroes already drafted that can deal with it.
Yeah, Isis is he's very good at. I think we also wrote that on like the team profile for them that Isis Well, we didn't write annoying offlaner, but we were talking about it. What was it? We call him disruptive offlaner.
Yes,
right?
I do
so
believe
he's really good at drawing attention to himself, annoying the supports, forcing them to spend resources on him, and Brutus like the #1 pick for that. So just good piece of advice. Just don't give it to Vici. I could definitely agree with that, man.
All right.
This game, they might actually go for Darkseid with him. They have a very good combination play with Quap and Wyvern, so that could be it's something that he likes to play as well. You could disrupt the supports a lot, waste a lot of their time, and he's really strong at making team fights happen for Vici.
Rubik ban from Vici. What do you make of that? That, to me, seems a little bit odd. Maybe not exactly what we might have
We thought that a lot of their bans are odd. Maybe they're just like, doesn't really matter.
Like the last game as well, we were like, okay.
Yeah.
That's
it's like,
true.
They're not going to pick Lina.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I mean, last game it looked like they were kind of self-banning themselves to a certain extent.
I'm guessing they want Shaker when they ban Rubik like this.
Yeah, Darkseid as
Yeah,
well.
Darkseer mentioned that Winter.
Yeah, it's very good with Wyvern and Quap, so it's not a surprise that it's getting taken out by Team Empire.
It could also just be a respect ban Rubik, actually, because Aloha Dance plays an incredible Rubik. He's actually up there, I guess. He would be like my third pick, I suppose, after
And Lil as
FY
well.
and Kuro.
And Lil as well from Virtus Pro. I think
Yeah,
they're the four
Lil
best.
is really good. There's actually so many incredible Rubik
now,
players.
now that we start talking about
Maybe it's a
Rubik
good hero.
players. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound like too much of a bad idea, especially because they just won a game with it. Obviously, you don't want to give them the revenge pick, so to speak, to let Empire have their showing with it.
This is a lot of information I feel like Empire are giving Vici Gaming right now. This is a pretty weak support duo. Pretty much guaranteed that these will be the supports, which also tells them that Spirit Breaker is not a support, so he's an offlaner most likely. So Vici can definitely start game planning around this, and if they're looking to put on some really early aggression with their secondary support, I think they might just be able to get away with it, because Empire is like... Empire can only counterplay. They can't really put pressure on themselves. Maybe you just pick a greedy carry.